So there is yamas and niyamas, suggestions to live by to make your life a little happier. And one of them is non-stealing. And I love this one because it seems obvious. Many of us don't steal things, but sometimes we steal time. Sometimes we take other things that maybe we're not ready for or don't belong to us. So I have a little explanation of non-stealing there, and to apply it to your practice today, non-stealing may apply to postures that you're not ready for. So if there is a posture that we do, I always give different variations and levels for the posture, but if you find something that you're trying and you're going too far, you can't breathe, something's very, very frustrating about it, it's probably a posture that you're not ready for and that you shouldn't be trying right now, and that you should back down or back off and go a little bit easier in the posture with something that I've shown beforehand. So that's it, and I'll go ahead and get started on this. And all right, it is time. Okay, so we're going to start standing up first. Go ahead and come to the top of your mat. I'm going to do some basic stretches for the oblique abdominals, intercostal muscles. So you're going to take the arms up on the inhale and interlace the fingers and squeeze the head with your arms. Pull the front ribs in, zip up the low belly a little bit, and squeeze your inner thighs into the midline. And then take a moment to find your low back. So some of us tend to tuck under too much, some of us tend to stick out too much. You do want a little bit of a lumbar curve here, but everybody's got a different amount of curve in their back in the first place. So a good way to do that is to roll your inner thighs back, which is going to give you a bigger lordosis or curve in your low back. And then lift your front hip points up, which is going to draw your tailbone down a little bit. Lift your heart on the inhale and then exhale to the right-hand side. So keep squeezing your head. Lift your bottom arm up into your top arm. Squeeze your legs into the midline. Zip up the low belly. Keep lifting those hip points. Take about 2 or 3 more big breaths here. And then come up on the inhale. Exhale to the left side. Lift that bottom arm up into your head. Squeezing your head. Big breathing. Breathe into the back and breathe into the sides of your rib cage. Roll your inner thighs back, but also lift your front hip points up. Zip up your low belly. And inhale, come on up. And then exhale, take the arms down the sides. Do a couple big exaggerated shoulder rolls, both directions. So I'm going to change directions, but you're not. You're going to stay up at the top of your mat. You're going to spread your toes out on your left foot. Bring your right foot to your ankle or your calf, or you can come up a little bit higher and come to your thigh. Just avoid the knee joint. So anywhere from the ground all the way up. Take the arms up again on the inhale. And we're going to go into those oblique abdominals again. So big inhale, big exhale, and then lift your spine, pull that low belly in, press the left leg and the right foot into each other, and then bring your right hand down to your right thigh. Lift up tall and slowly start stretching toward your right hand side. And your right hand may be able to slide down that right leg a little bit. So find a place that works, and this can be a little bit wobbly. So if you feel like you're falling out of the posture, don't panic. You can just come back into it. Keep pressing the left leg and the right foot into each other. And as you breathe, just see if you can go a little bit more to the side. But again, if you fall or you feel like you have to drop that right foot, that's okay. Take about 2 more big breaths here. And it would come on down. All right, let's try the other side. Spread your toes out on your right foot. Bring your left foot to your ankle or calf, or avoid the knee joint to come up a little bit higher. Take your left hand to your thigh, zip up your belly, press the left foot and the right leg into each other. Lift your right arm up, and then slowly lift the spine, but also start stretching to your left. Left hand may slide down the leg a little bit. Don't forget to breathe. Keep zipping up the low belly, pressing the left foot and right leg into each other. And find a place where you're steady. So if you're starting to get really super wobbly, maybe you're going a little bit too far. One more big breath. And then inhale, come on up, and release that left foot. Nice. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of sun salutations, get some blood pumping. Take the arms up on the inhale, look up toward the thumbs. Exhale, fold, bend the knees. Inhale, stretch forward and look forward. Reach your tailbone out behind you. Look forward, zip up your belly, and plant the hands and step back. Once you're in your plank, take a moment and roll the shoulders onto your back. Lift your chin. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Press forward with your toes, and then lower down about halfway. You can always drop your knees on this one. Inhale onto the tops of the feet. Maybe push the toenails into the ground so you can get your thighs off the ground. Again, you can drop your knees. Roll those shoulder blades down your back, zip up the belly. And then exhale, downward dog. Once you're in your down dog, walk it out a little bit. Press one heel toward the ground. Press the other heel down. Relax your neck. Shake out your head a little bit. Nod your head. Now take that right foot and cross it behind your left foot. So see if you can tap the ground with your right foot. You might not be able to, but just see if you can cross over and possibly tap the ground. And then lift up about a foot off the ground and keep stretching off to your left. So you're still getting that side stretch that we've been working on. All right, bring that right foot back to the ground. Lift your left leg up about a foot off the ground. Swing it over to the right side and then see if you can tap the ground with your left big toe. And if you can't, just hover over the ground. And then lift about a foot off the ground and keep swinging over to the right. All right, let that leg come back to down dog. Look up, inhale, step forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way to the sky. And exhale, arms to the sides. Let's do it again. Take the arms up on the inhale, look up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, plant the hands, step back. Press forward, we're going to come all the way down to our bellies. Drop your knees, drop your chest, come all the way down. Roll the shoulders onto your back and slide your hands back so your hands are in line with your shoulders and maybe even slightly behind the shoulders. Roll your pubic bone toward the ground. Extend your legs so you can get your legs a little bit longer. Zip up the low belly and then lift your chest up and then lift your hands up. So you're really using your transverse abdominals here, pulling those front ribs in towards your spine, essentially trying to pull the front ribs off the ground. And if you feel any compression here in your back, in your low back, roll your pubic bone toward the ground more and zip up your low belly more. All right, plant the hands behind your shoulders, roll the shoulders onto your back, come to all fours. And then once you're on all fours, you're going to take that left arm behind your right arm and bring your left shoulder to the ground. Press down into that right hand and roll the right shoulder onto your back. All right, press in that right hand, switch hands. Take your left hand to the ground, take your right arm behind. Bring your right shoulder to the ground. Press into the left hand so you can roll the left shoulder onto your back. So you should be feeling a pretty good fascia stretch here through your back and some of your oblique abdominals. Take about 2 more big breaths. All right, press down to that left hand, come back up. One more variation here. So now we're going to do heart melting pose. You're going to keep your hips over your knees and slide your hands forward. And then see if you can bring your forehead or your chin to the ground. Once you have your forehead or chin to the ground, see if you can melt your heart toward the ground, almost like you have a smooth stone on your upper back, and it's weighing your chest down. All right, one more variation. Slide your right hand back so your right hand's near your shoulder. Turn your left thumb toward the ceiling, and then press into your right hand and look over your right shoulder. And your head probably won't come to ground. If it does, that's fine. But it may be really difficult to get your head to the ground, so you may have to lift your head up about 1 inch or 2 off the ground. Try to find a nice neutral place for the neck. All right, press into that right hand. Let's go for the other side. So slide that right arm all the way forward as if you're going for your heart melting pose again. And then turn the right thumb up. Bring your left hand out to the left next to your shoulder. And then gently press into the left hand and look over your left shoulder. All right, press into that left hand, come back up, flip your toes over. Your down dog should feel a little bit looser in the shoulders now. And look up. Inhale, step forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips and fold. Inhale, take it to the sky. And exhale, arms to the sides. Let's go for sun salutation B. Big toes together, heels slightly apart. Interlace the fingers or press the palms of the hands forward. Sink back into an imaginary chair. So this is Utkatasana or Fierce Pose. Stick your tailbone out, so reach back with your hips, zip up your low belly. Try to lengthen your heart forward as well, so you're stretching your spine in 2 directions. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down halfway. Tops the feet, inhale, push down into your toenails. Exhale, downward dog. Left heel pivots and plants. Right foot lunges forward. Warrior 1, inhale. So front hip points are going to lift up a little bit. Squeeze your inner thighs toward each other. Drop your shoulders, look up toward your thumbs. So your drishti, or your focal point, is up to your thumbs. All right, place the hands back down on the ground. Step your right leg back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Left leg lunges. Big inhale, take it up. Lift your front hip points. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Drop your shoulders, look up toward the thumbs. And big exhale. Take the hands down to the ground. Step your left leg back. Press forward. Lift your chin, lower down. Inhale, up dog. And exhale, down dog. We're going to do this one more time. Lunge your right leg forward. Drop your back heel. Take it up. All right, this time, your right thigh, you may not have lunged very far. See if you can put just a little bit more space between the feet. So your right thigh is starting to get a little bit closer to parallel. So slide that left foot back a little bit or walk your right foot forward a little bit. Pull those front hip creases up or hip points up. Drop the shoulders, look up. And from here, when you bring your hands down the ground, try to lift your right foot up and step it back rather than dragging it back. So you have to push into your hands, use your belly to lift the foot up and step it back. Press forward, lift your chin, exhale, lower down. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Right heel plants, left foot lunges. Inhale, take it up. Again, give yourself some more space between the feet, so maybe slide that right foot back or wiggle that left foot forward. Lift your front hip points. Drop your shoulders. Zip up your low belly. All right, hands down to the ground. Take one moment to lift your left foot up and step it back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. So child's pose is always a great option here. If you feel like your wrists are not very happy with you, or you've got tight hamstrings and you feel like there's a lot of weight in the shoulders, you can bend the knees, press the hips back. Also child's pose, roll the shoulders onto your back, relax the neck. And look up. Inhale, step forward, big toes touching. Exhale, fold. Sink into Utkatasana, take the arms up and look up. Exhale, straighten the legs, arms to sides. All right, ready to go a little bit harder on this next one, do a little bit of twisting. So take the arms up on the inhale, sink back, drop the shoulders. See if you can get your arms back a little bit more in line with the ears so you can feel a lot more back muscle here. And then twist to your right and hook that left elbow to the outside of your right leg. So once you're here, look over your right shoulder. Tack your left hip crease back a little bit. If you're feeling pretty comfortable here, see if you can drop your hips a little bit more. And then another variation is to extend your arms. So that's a pretty deep twist if you're able to do that. Don't forget to breathe. Let's go to the other side. Unwind, inhale, come all the way up, straighten the legs. And exhale, twist to the left. Right arm to the outside of the left leg. Drop your hips, look over the left shoulder. Tack your right hip crease back a little bit so your right knee's not popping forward. Don't forget to breathe. And unwind. Inhale, take it up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step it back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down halfway. Taps the feet, inhale. Exhale, downward dog. 5 breaths here. Roll the shoulders onto your back. So we're going to add in a few steps here into that warrior one. Look up. Lunge your right leg forward, drop your back heel. Come into warrior one. And then open up for warrior two. Look straight down your middle right finger, drop your shoulders, and lift your triceps. And then imagine somebody's grabbing your back hand and pull your torso a little bit more upright. There's a bit of a tendency to kind of lean into this front leg. So pull your torso toward that back leg a little bit more so you're more upright. And pinwheel your hands down to the ground. Step your right leg back. Try to lift your foot up and step it back. Press forward, lower down. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Right heel plants, left foot lunges. Inhale, take it up. And then open up for warrior two. So once you're warrior two, left foot lines up roughly with the heel or arch of your back foot. Make sure there's a nice bend in this left leg, left knee's over the ankle, roughly. And then look down your left middle finger. Drop your shoulders. Lift your triceps. Pull some of your weight into your back leg, so pretend somebody's grabbing your right arm and pulling it back a little bit. All right, pinwheel your hands down to the ground. See if you can lift your left foot up and step it back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Left heel plants again. Right foot lunges forward. Warrior one on the inhale. Warrior two on the exhale. Come into exalted warrior. Turn the palm of the right hand up toward the sky. So the tendency here is for this right knee to start straightening up. Try to keep that right knee bent over the ankle. All right, now we are going to straighten up that front leg. So this is essentially a reverse triangle. So straighten up the front leg completely. Keep lifting toward the sky. And then come back to a regular triangle here and reach through that right hand side. Bring your right hand down to your leg. So maybe the thigh, maybe the shin. If you're a little bit more flexible, you can get that hand down toward the foot. But it's more important as you do this to get some length through the right side. So try not to collapse through your right rib cage. Keep reaching out for your tailbone to the top of the head. See if you can slightly roll your right rib cage toward the ceiling, just a tiny twist. And pivot to your hands down. Take a moment and lift your right foot up and step it back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Right heel plants, left foot lunges. Warrior one on the inhale. Open up for warrior two. Once you're in warrior two, we're going for exalted warrior. Turn the palm of the left hand toward the sky and look up. Keep that left knee bent for a while. Breathe. Right leg is going to lift up towards your right hand. All right, now start straightening up that front leg for another 5 breaths. You're going to get a little bit more stretch to the front of that left hip. All right, come into a regular triangle, torso up, big inhale. And now reach to that left hand side and bring your left hand down to your leg somewhere. Take that right arm toward the sky and then lengthen through the left side. Try not to collapse through the left rib cage. Lots of lift there. And then slowly roll that left rib cage toward the ceiling. Zip up the low belly, stick your tailbone out a little bit. All right, look down, bend that front knee, bring the hands down to the ground. See if you can lift the left foot up and step it back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Take a moment and walk it out. Roll the shoulders onto your back. Relax the neck, shake out the head, nod the head. And look up. Inhale, step forward, big toes touching. Exhale, fold. Utkatasana, sink back, take the arms up. Exhale, straighten the legs, arms the sides. All right, sun salutation seat. Take the arms up on the inhale, look up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step your left leg back. Drop your back knee. Take the arms up on the inhale. So we're going to go a little bit quickly on this one. Exhale, hands down to the ground. Step back. Lift your left leg toward the sky. On your next inhale, lunge it forward. Drop your back knee. Take the arms up. And exhale. Hands down to the ground. Lift your right knee up and step forward. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, fold forward again. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, right leg back. Drop your back knee. Take the arms up on the inhale. Exhale, hands down to the ground. Step back. Lift your right leg toward the sky. Lunge it forward. Drop your back knee on the inhale. Come on up. And exhale, hands to the ground. Lift your back knee up. Step it forward. Inhale, stretch your heart forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, take it up. And exhale, arms to the side. So just take a moment here, especially if that last little round took you a little bit longer. Some of those lunges can be really tough. So roll the shoulder blades onto your back and down. Lift your chin up just a little bit so the bottom of your chin is parallel to the ground. Take about 2, 3 more big breaths. All right, do this again and add a couple of little extra bits here. Take the arms up on the inhale, look up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step your left leg back. Drop your back knee. And then bring your arms to the inside of your right leg. So this is where blocks can be really handy. If you have a block or two, take the block under your hands or your forearms, or if you don't need the blocks and you want to go deeper, you can just bring your forearms to the ground. So your right leg may swing out a little bit to the right. It might kind of drop off to the right, which is okay. Just use your inner thigh. So squeeze your inner thigh in towards your side. And if the right leg doesn't come anywhere close to your side, that's okay as long as you feel your inner thigh engaging. Reach your heart forward, try to get your spine long. Slightly tighten up your buttocks, just a little bit. All right, we're gonna do a little side plank here. So left hand is gonna come to the ground below your left shoulder. You can also put your forearm on a block. Turn your right toes out to the right. Then you're gonna press down into your left foot and see if you can get your back knee up, and then come to the pinky edge of your left foot. So you're coming to the knife edge and karate chop the ground with the pinky edge of your foot. Press down firmly with your right foot. So you should feel a little bit of a hip opener here. Take your right hand up toward the sky. And then we're going to get a little bit of a back bend by bringing your right hand to the back of your head. Push your head back into your right hand. So you're creating a little bit of a curve here in the spine, opening up that right shoulder. Take about 2 more big breaths here. All right, hand down to the ground. Step your right leg back and lift your left leg toward the sky. Take 5 breaths here. Square up your hips, roll your inner left thigh toward the sky. Press your right heel down and lift your right hip crease up. You may need to put a little bend in the right knee. Relax the neck. All right, look up. Bring that left knee into your chest and tap the back of the left arm or get as close as you can. And then extend back behind you again. Big inhale. And then come forward again, and this time try to get your forehead and your knee to touch. And then inhale back behind you again. And then try to touch the back of your right arm. And inhale back behind you again. And exhale, lunge your left leg forward. Drop your back knee. Interlace the fingers behind your back. See if you can get the heels of your hands to touch. And slowly drop the fist down. Open up your heart, little back bend here. And release. Take the hands down to the ground. Lift your back knee up and step your right leg forward. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, take it up to the sky. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step your right leg back. Drop your back knee. All right, bring your arms to the inside of your left leg. And again, depending on your flexibility, you may want to come down a little bit deeper. So possibly come down a little bit lower. Maybe come to a block instead of the ground. Squeeze your inner left thigh in toward your left side. It does not have to touch. Drag your right knee forward a little bit. Slightly tighten up the buttocks. Keep your chin up. All right, so depending on how your wrists feel about doing a side plank, you can put your forearm on your block. Turn your left toes out to the left, so kind of walk your left foot out and then turn your toes out. Lift your back knee up, and then you're going to come to the pinky edge of your right foot and take your left arm toward the sky. So you have lots of options for this right arm. Forearm to the ground, forearm to the block, or you can come to a more planky variation here with the right hand, right fingers grabbing the ground. And then you're going to take that left hand to the back of your head and press your head back into your left hand. So you're trying to find different planes, different fascial planes through your torso here into your legs and hips. All right, bring that left hand back down the ground, step back. Lift your right leg toward the sky. Take 5 breaths here. Roll the inner right thigh toward the sky. Lift your inner right thigh toward the sky and then drop your left heel and lift your left hip crease. If you feel tugging in the back of your left knee, bend the left knee a little bit. Relax your neck. Lift your armpits up and roll your shoulders onto your back. All right, and then from here, bring that right knee forward. See if you can touch the back of your right arm. Inhale, back behind you. And come forward again. See if you can get your forehead and your knee to touch. And inhale, back behind you. And try to touch the back of your left arm. And inhale, back behind you. And bring that right knee forward. Step your right leg forward and drop your back knee. Take your time getting into this. This is not the easiest posture for everybody. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Go for the non-dominant grip. Put the other thumb and first finger on top. Stretch your fist down. Open up your heart. And release. Take the hands down the ground. Lift your back knee up and step your left leg forward. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, hands into your heart center. Okay, so we're going to take a big step back with your right foot. And you're probably going to use a block for this. So turn your right toes toward the back of your mat. We're going to come into a couple different variations of half moon. So your block will go in your right hand. You're going to lunge into warrior 2. And then bring that block to the inside of your right foot and bring your left hand to your hip. Press your right elbow back into your inner right knee or inner right leg. Lengthen through your right side and then gently twist and look over your left shoulder. So you should be feeling a little bit of an inner thigh stretch here. All right, and then come on up. Let's go for the other side. Turn your right toes in, turn your left toes out. So you're going to the other side. Put the block in your left hand, arms out, big inhale. Lunge into warrior 2, and then take that left arm to the inside of your left leg, right hand to your hip. Block is on the ground. You're going to press that left arm back into the inside of your left leg. Lengthen through your left side and twist and look over your right shoulder. So we're trying to get this inner thigh to stretch out a little bit more so we can get into our half moon posture. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate a couple different variations here. You can do this in the center of the room on your mat. If you have a little bit more wobbly balance, you may want to use a wall. So I'm going to demonstrate the wall variation just in case. So you got the wall behind you, and you're going to come into warrior 2 again. And then once you get into your warrior 2, you want to make sure that your butt is touching the wall. So just barely. And you want to make sure that there is about a butt's width from the wall between your foot. So your foot's not right up against the wall. It's roughly 6 inches to 8 inches away from the wall, or a little bit wider. And then from here, you're going to use that block again, bring your left hand to your hip, and then slowly bring that right hand down to the ground so your right shoulder and the block are below your right shoulder. And then left arm toward the sky. So I'm slightly leaning up against the wall. My left hand's up against the wall. My left foot's up against the wall. This gives me an opportunity to try to get that left hip to stack over the right hip a little bit more. And that inner right thigh you should feel. You can, again, do this in the middle of the room. You don't need to use the wall. But this is helpful if you're a little wobbling with your balance, or if your ankles are a little weak, or if your hips are really tight. Take 2 more big breaths here. All right, bend that front knee a little bit and slowly come on down. We're gonna go for the other side. So turn your right toes in, turn your left toes forward, put the block in your left hand. Again, if you're using the wall, you want a little bit of space between that left foot and the wall, but your hips, your butt, your glutes should be touching the wall barely. Take the arms out to the sides, come into your warrior two. Bring your right hand to your hip. And then you're gonna take that block down to the ground below your left shoulder. Slowly come into that left leg. So my hip is touching the wall. My right leg comes up roughly parallel. Right arm toward the sky. Maybe a little bit of a bend in that standing leg. And then I'm trying to get my right hip to stack over my left hip more. So you can even help out by gently pulling your right hip back toward the wall and see if you can get your right glute. Let me just turn around my legs. Try to get your right glute on the wall as well as your left glute. It may not actually happen, but that's where you're trying to go, is stacking a little bit more. Big breaths. If it feels good for your balance, you can look down at the ground. If you want to challenge a little bit more and get a more neutral curve in the neck, you look up toward the sky. All right, let's come out of the posture. Nice. All right, so from here, take your feet pretty wide. You want your ankles roughly underneath your wrists if you're extending your arms. Turn the toes in. Outer edges of the feet are parallel to the short edges of the mat. And then you're going to come into a forward bend. So you can place your block right under your head. As you inhale, lengthen your spine forward and your tailbone back. And as you exhale, relax. So we're getting into the hamstrings a little bit more. If you're pretty flexible in the hamstrings, you can bring your hands to the ground. Squeeze your inner thighs into the midline. Check and see where your weight is. Some of us tend to sink back into the heels too much, which really stresses out the backs of the knees. So bring your weight slightly forward, lift your kneecaps, maybe even put a little micro bend in your knees. Keep squeezing your legs in the midline. Make sure your weight is in your inner heels, outer heels, and front heels. And then breathe and see if you can hinge at the hips a little bit more. If you can, walk your hands back more in line with your feet. So I'm going to demonstrate a posture called tripod headstand. Again, remember that non-stealing Asteya. If you are not ready for this, don't do it. But if you feel like you want to try this out, you essentially are making a tripod between your hands and your head. So you walk your hands back in line with your heels, lift your chin up, get nice and long through the spine, and then you put the top of the head on the ground. And then just eyeball it. Make sure that you've got a nice equilateral triangle between your head and your hands, because your hands are going to be doing a lot of work here. Press down into the hands firmly. You also press down through the top of the head, and then you can take your legs up. Nice deep breaths here. Breathe. Maybe you come to a headstand, maybe you don't. You can also just kind of play with it and see if you can get your toes up off the ground, but those hands are doing a ton of work. My head is not the only thing pressing into the ground. I'm distributing the weight evenly into those hands and into the head. When you're done, take a moment. And again, those feet never have to come off the ground. Don't attempt something if you're not ready for it. Roll those shoulders onto your back. Bend the knees. Come up halfway on the inhale. Bring your hands to your hips on the exhale. Squeeze your elbows toward the sky. And then big inhale, come all the way up. All right, toe heel in. And step up to the front of your mat. All right, let's come down to the ground. Take the arms up on the inhale, look up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step back and drop your knees. All right, let's get into the outer hips a little bit more, and we'll do a little bit more hip opening. So extend your right leg back behind you and extend your left arm out in front of you. Zip up the low belly. Push your toenails into the ground and claw the ground with your right hand. And this is one of my favorite ways to strengthen and open up the hips. So you're going to bring your left hand back down, but walk it off the mat. Give yourself a wide space between the hands. Bend your right knee. Lift your right heel. Then you're going to turn your right toes out, or right knee out. Bring your right knee toward your right shoulder. Lift your right leg up again, and then extend your right leg and take 10 breaths here. Look at your right toes. Bring that right leg back in. Let's go to the other side. Walk your left hand back onto your mat. Extend your left leg back behind you. Extend your right arm out in front of you. Get nice and long. Press down through the right toes and claw the ground with your left hand. All right. Take that right hand down to give yourself some space. So your right hand is going to be off the mat. Bend your left leg. Lift your left heel up. So use those gluteus maximus muscles. And then turn that left knee out to the side and bring your left knee towards your left armpit. Lift your left leg up. And then extend your left leg. And look at your toes for 10 breaths. And bring that leg back in. Okay, so take a nice wide posture here, knees wide, feet together for child's pose. Press back towards your heels with your hips. Be pretty active here. Press forward into the mat with your fingertips so your hips come closer to your heels. Okay, let's do pigeon. So come to your hands and knees. Two different ways to do pigeon. So you're going to step your right leg forward, walk your right foot over towards your left hand or left hip, and then find a pigeon that way. If this pigeon is irritating for the knees, then you can do pigeon on your back. So if you're really tight, this is a great pigeon right here. You just cross your right ankle just below your left knee on the thigh and hang out here. As your hip opens up, then you can start coming down to your back and then eventually grabbing the back of your thigh. You can also use a strap. And you can also grab the front of your shin. So also a great pigeon. You just can edge into it a little bit more if you're on your back. And then I highly recommend doing just a little bit of wiggling around, rocking from side to side, and just finding all the tight spots. And that really goes for the front side as well. So even on the front, you can kind of play with where your weight distribution is. Notice if you're sinking into that right hip or left hip, and see if you can get a little bit left and right. Try to find the middle area. Ankle should be pretty straight, so pay attention to that ankle. If there's a huge curve in your ankle, you're going to, over time, put some stress in that outer ACL, outer knee. So make sure that you've got either pointing or flexing or something in between, sort of like a point or a flex. Point. All right, so from here, we're going to add in a little bit extra. If you're on your front, then you're going to twist to your right. If you're on your back, you're going to drop your knees over to the left. So bring your left forearm in front of you. Take your right hand out to the side. If you're on your front side, lengthen your spine and twist and look over your right shoulder. Nice big breaths. You can also bring your head down to a block and bring your left shoulder to the ground. So you can go a little deeper if you'd like to. So that would be, you grab a block. Head on the block. Make a little fist with your left hand. Place your right hand flat on that fist and gently press the two into each other. So it'll give you a little bit more through this right hip. If you are on your back, you can do a simple twist by dropping your right foot flat to the ground, which is great. If you want to make this twist a little bit more intense, you can bring the right leg closer to the left leg, so close that gap between the legs, and then drop your knees. And you can even wrap your right foot behind your left leg in eagle legs and drop your left knee that way. So it's really up to you. If you do go a little deeper on your back, make sure you're sticking your tailbone out so you have a bit of a curve in your low back and you're not overstretching your back in this posture. There's a bit of a tendency to tuck too much. And then don't forget to breathe wherever you are. If you're on your back, look over your right shoulder.
Okay, slowly unwind. If you're on your front side, do a down dog. If you're on your back side, go for a happy baby and rock from side to side here. And let's go for the other side for pigeon. So pigeon, left leg in front, or crossing that left ankle over. Try to get a pretty good extension through this ankle so that you're not collapsing. One nice straight ankle. And then from here, breathe deeply, zip up your low belly. Try to get a little bit of a curve in your low back, just the tiniest bit of curve since that's considered neutral. And there's a little bit of a tendency because of tight hips to tuck under too much here. So try not to tuck under, stick out your tail. Breathe deeply, zip up your belly. And this is a pretty standard posture. We do this a lot for good reason. Most of us tend to be tighter in the hamstrings, tighter in the hips, and that's just from walking and sitting, essentially. So you'll find this posture in a lot of yoga posture, in a lot of yoga practices. We're going to try to get a little bit more into the hips in a moment. All right, so bring your right forearm in front, left hand out to the side, lengthen your spine and twist. You can also go a little deeper, bring your head to a block, shoulder to the ground, make a fist with your right hand and press your left hand, the flat of your left hand into your fist. Breathe deeply. And then same thing on this. If you're on your back, and you want to go into a little bit more of a twist, you can slowly roll onto that outer right hip and drop your left foot flat to the ground. You can even grab onto that ankle if you'd like. Stick your tailbone out a little bit. Look over that left shoulder. Try to bring your left hip and your right heel toward each other. So a little bit of a action of that left hip down slightly. And you can always go deeper. Look over your left shoulder. Take about 2 more big breaths. All right. And then unwind, down dog or happy baby. Take a moment here. Okay, next one, we want to get a little bit more of the inner thighs stretched out. And the inner thighs are really tough because you have 4 muscles that come into the same spot in your groin, so that's why it's tight. So we're going to go for a posture called Mandukasana, the frog. And you're going to place one block. You don't have to use blocks. Blocks just make things a little softer. So you're going to place your blocks on either side of your mat, about half on, half off the mat. So half the block is off the mat, half the block is on the mat, and this will be adjusted according to your needs. So from here, I'm going to put my knees out to the sides here. Again, if you don't have a block, you just take your knees wide, and then your feet can be together, or if you're a little bit more flexible, shins are parallel to the sides of the mat. So the blocks make this a little bit easier just because there's a little cushioning there. So knee on one block, knee on the other block. And then, again, if you're a little tight in the groin, which most people are, feet can come closer together. If you're less tight, then the shins can be parallel to the sides of the mat. And then you're going to slowly come down, bring your forearms to the ground. Take some big breaths. Slightly tighten up your buttocks, so just a little bit. And what that does is, since we're dealing with a pretty complicated joint, your hip joint, what your hips really enjoy is support, right? So if you're getting a huge stretch through your inner thighs, if you slightly tighten up your buttocks, you're engaging muscles on the other side of the leg bone, right? And when you engage those muscles on the other side of the leg bone, you have a little bit more muscle working for you. Those butt muscles are doing a lot of work to help support the hips and keep the SI joint in place. And those inner thighs will relax a little bit more. It's not going to be super dramatic, but it'll be helpful. All right, so I encourage you to move a tiny bit here, and it shouldn't be huge movement. If we were in a classroom together and I was watching you, I probably wouldn't see much work happening. So it's super minute movements, but imagine your pelvis or your pubic bone is like a watch face. So really that tiny, and then you're gonna do just slight clockwise motion of that watch face of your pubic bone, slightly moving in a clockwise direction. And then you can switch and go counterclockwise, but you want to be just a tiny, tiny bit moving your pubic bone, your pelvis. And again, it shouldn't really be that noticeable to somebody who's just walking around the room checking your posture. All right, if you happen to be a super flexible person, you can extend your legs more. So if you want to extend out a little bit more and then draw your hips back toward the back of your mat, this is getting into something that more resembles the splits, right? So that's if you're more flexible. Just see if you want to extend those legs out to the sides more. And even for those of us who are more flexible, morning is a tight time for the body. So if you don't go as deep as you would in the afternoon with yoga, that's really normal. So go ahead and come out of the posture. And then we're going to do a double pigeon. So double pigeon, you're going to take your left leg in front and your right leg over. You're trying to go ankle to knee, so not foot to knee, but ankle to knee. Your thighs are almost parallel. The outsides of the thighs are almost parallel, and your feet should be free here. So once you're here, bring the bottoms of your feet out, press them out, and pull the pinky toes in. If you are a little tighter, then you may find that your right knee is popping up a little bit. You may also find that it's really impossible to get that right foot over the ankle and or over the knee. So if that's the case, you're going to put your block in front and put your right foot in front. So you still have that same shape, trying to get ankle lined up with the knee. You're just giving yourself a little bit more space. So from here, sit up tall, and for many people, just sitting up tall is a forward bend. If you have a little bit more flexibility through the hips, then you're going to go ahead and actually hinge at the hips here and keep pressing the hands into the balls of the feet and vice versa. If you're feeling this in your outer hips, that's where you should feel it. So you notice we went outer hips, and then we went inner thighs, inner hips, and then we're back to outer hips again, and we're going to go back to the inner thighs again. And again, if you're sitting up tall, that's your forward bend. It's not a big deal. All right, let's go for the other side. So you're going to extend your legs, and let's go for the other side. So right leg is under, and left leg is over. Again, your feet should be free. It should be ankle to knee, not foot to knee. And then left knee might be popping up. You may find this side's a little tighter. Left hips tend to be the tight hip for most right-handers. So if that's the case, you can always put that left foot forward on the block in front. And then pull the pinky toes back to the midline. Sit up tall if that's your forward bend. Keep pressing out through the big toe ball joint of your feet. Press in, so create some resistance here. And then if there's a little bit of a hinge in the hips, go for it. Don't forget to breathe. And there's another little trick too. Your hip muscles use a ton of oxygen. So if you're feeling like other parts of your body are cramping up, or even your hips are cramping up, you're probably not breathing deeply enough. So take some really big inhales and really big exhales. And then another really interesting trick is if your jaw is relaxed or if you're slightly smiling, then you're going to get more oxygen to your hips. So do a little experiment here. Have a really grumpy face, like just really upset, pissed off face, and then try to breathe. And then smile really big, or at least relax your jaw, and then try to breathe. Big inhale, big exhale. And it's a lot easier to breathe. So when you have a really tense face, your neck tightens up a little bit, and you actually can't get as much breath and oxygenated blood down your hips. So keep that in mind. Keep your jaw relaxed and maybe a little smile on your face. come on out of this. Now we're going to go for a bow Baddha Konasana. So some people call this the butterfly posture. So you're going to bring the bottoms of your feet together and then press the pinky edges of your feet into each other so that you're squeezing them into each other, and then open up your feet like a little book. We're going to bring the forehead toward the toes. So just round your back as much as you want to. Forehead toward your toes. Get a nice big stretch through your back as you round. And you can swing gently from side to side. All right, so you may notice that my knees are really low, close to the ground. That's an indication that really loose or open hips. So a lot of people, their knees are way up high here. That's okay. So it just takes time. Those inner thighs take a lot of time to stretch out. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go for an extension here of the legs. You're going to take the legs out to the sides. So go for where you can go. If you're really tight here, and a lot of people, once they extend those legs, all of a sudden they collapse backwards. So I'll show from the side. If you're collapsing backwards like this and your back is rounding, you're not really getting the inner thigh and hamstring stretch that you need. It's all happening here in the back, which is your back really hates that. So what you'll do is you'll put a block behind you and push down into the block and make a second spine. So your goal, if you're really tight, is just to sit up straight here. You can also sit up against a wall. So stick your butt in the corner, and then you can just try to pull your back off the wall. So nice deep breaths here. This may be your forward bend. If you feel really comfortable being able to maintain this and you've got the core strength to sit up tall here, then you're going to take your block out in front of you. So block out in front, lift your chin, tighten at the tops of your thighs, press your thighs down, and then lift your spine and your chest, and maybe come to a forward bend-ish posture here. So maybe your forearms come to your block. If you're a little bit more loose in the hips, you can come down to the ground. Most people don't come this deep. It just doesn't happen for most of us. So breathe deeply, figure out where you are, but most important, keep your spine long and your chest open. So big inhales and big exhales. If you do happen to come to a comfortable place here, you can bring your forehead to your block and let your forehead rest on your block. Keep tightening up the tops of your thighs. Every once in a while, just check in with your feet. Notice your feet. So try to get your kneecaps pointing straight up. Try to get your toes pointing straight up. If you're a little bit tighter in those inner thighs, your toes may be rolling in a little bit. Do your best to point them up. Big inhales, big exhales. Keep reaching through the spine, reaching your tailbone back and your heart forward. And again, that may be way up here if you happen to be a little tighter, and that's okay too. All right, come on out of this. And this next one will probably require a strap. So you're going to bring your left foot into your groin. Your right leg is still extended. Now we're going to do another little bend here and try to get to that right foot, and then we're going to try to bring that leg up and see what happens. So remember the Asteya non-stealing. You're going to find a posture that works for you. So sit up nice and tall. Twist your torso towards your left knee. Take your strap to your right foot, unless you can grab your big toe. So you can grab your strap or grab your big toe, and then keep twisting your right rib cage away. I tend to take my left hand to my right rib cage and lift and twist to the left. So I'm doing a little bit of a twist away from that right leg. And then see if I can drop my right elbow to the inside of my right leg. Keep lengthening through the right side and see if I can do a side bend here toward my right leg. Eventually, my left arm's going to go over my head. Keep lengthening through the right side, and eventually, someday, your left hand will come to your foot and you'll grab your foot with both hands. But if you're not quite there, just try not to collapse through your right side. Keep lengthening your right side and trying to get your right armpit closer to your right foot. And that'll get these nice oblique abdominals on each side engaged. All right, we're going to come up to the other side. So again, use your strap if you need to. Put your right foot into your groin, extend your left leg. Turn your torso towards your right knee. See if you can grab your left foot with your strap or with your hand. And then take your right hand to your left rib cage and lift and twist toward the ceiling. Get a little bit of a twist there. Breathe deeply. You can stay here. This is a great place to just remind yourself not to collapse through your left rib cage. If this feels pretty good, maybe bring that left elbow down to the inside of the left leg. Keep lengthening through the left side. So I'm still lifting and lengthening, trying to get my left armpit closer to my left foot. Take that right arm over, breathe deeply, and this is a great place to hang out as you try to lengthen both sides of your rib cage. Eventually, someday, right hand is going to come to that left foot. You're going to keep lengthening and gently twisting your left rib cage toward the ceiling. All right, come on up. All right, now we're going to try for the slightly harder one. So if you try for the slightly harder one and you're like, no way is that going to happen, go back to this one because this was pretty challenging. So you're going to take your strap around your right foot again, or you're going to grab that foot with your right hand. And then you're going to take that right leg and see if you can lift it up. Just check it out and see. If this is really hard to do and you're collapsing backwards and rounding your back, then you're probably not ready for this one and you want to go to the one we just did and do it again. So from here, now you're going to switch hands. You're going to take that left hand, bring it over the top of your right foot and grab the pinky edge of your right foot, and then bring your arm through the gap you just made in your legs. Bring your right hand to the back of your calf and see if you can hoist that right leg closer to your shoulder. So it may not be on your shoulder, it may be on the back of your arm, that's okay. And then you're going to bring your right hand down to the ground and then press my right arm into the back of my right leg and slowly start lengthening my right leg. It may not go totally straight. So it's the same posture, right? Except this time, I'm pressing my right arm into my right leg in order to get a little bit more of a twist. So I'll demonstrate from another side here. So right arm to the back of the leg, so you can get that right leg close to the shoulder, and then extend the leg. Keep lifting your spine. And even if you don't get the full-blown posture, it feels really good to get that nice stretch through the spine. So that's what you're going for, is just that lengthening. Let's go for the other side. So from here, grab your left big toe, and you can use a strap. Get it up there. And then you're going to take your right hand and I'll wrap it over the top of your left foot and grab the pinky edge of your left foot. And then bring your right foot into your groin. Lean forward slightly. Take your left arm through the gap that you just made. See if you can hoist that left leg a little bit closer to the back of your left arm, maybe your shoulder. Then you put your left hand on the ground. Lift your spine. That's the most important part, is lifting and lifting and lifting the spine. As you lift your spine, see if you can get your left leg a little bit straighter. You're getting all this really nice stretch through your intercostal muscles, your oblique abdominals. Again, don't worry if you can't get there. Just the fact that you're trying something crazy like this might just be perfect lengthening. Obviously, a lot of loose hamstrings involved in this one, but it's the torso that I care about, seeing if you can get a little bit longer through the torso. All right, release. We're going to do one more thing for the quads here. So come to the top of your mat and then make your feet wide enough that you can sit down between your heels. If you are really tight through the quads or if you've got grumpy knees, you can sit on a block or two or a blanket. So if you feel like it's just not feasible to bring your hips all the way to the ground, that's okay. And then you're going to stretch your knees forward and slightly squeeze your inner thighs into the midline and then maybe lean back a little bit. So if you're on a block, this is about as far as you go, just a slight leaning back variation, but you should be feeling something through the quads. And then if this is feeling okay and you're not on a block, you can go a little deeper into the hero pose. You lift your hips a little bit and then maybe come down to your forearms. Keep gently squeezing the legs into the midline and stretching your knees forward. If this feels pretty good, you can come all the way down to your back, so that's the full-blown posture, and then you take your arms over your head. So again, don't feel like you have to go here, especially if your knees are yelling at you. If they're yelling at you, that's a lot where a lot of ligament and tendon is, and over time, we stretch out the ligaments and tendons in the knees and make them a little bit more flexible, but it really does take time. You don't want to get this like years kinds of time, like 2 or 3, 4 or 5 years. So you want to make sure you don't do this all at once. You're not going to force those ligaments and tendons to go longer and faster. You just can't. They'll just get mad at you. So that's where that Asteya comes in, and you don't want to overstretch ligaments and tendons. So muscle is made to stretch and just micro tear and redo itself. It's made to do that. So you can get a lot more out of your muscles than you can out of your ligaments and tendons in a short period of time. All right, so from here, we're going to go for a back bend. So we're going to do bridge first. And with your bridge, you're gonna lie on your back, reach down, make sure that you can touch your heels with your fingertips. So you know essentially what you're trying to do is make sure that your ankles are below your knees. And then you're gonna grab your mat on either side, roll your shoulders underneath you, press your feet into the ground, and lift your hips up. And you should feel some burn in your quadriceps. So we just stretched them out a little bit, and we're stretching them out again. I'm going to press down into your inner heels. Notice if you're kind of favoring the outer foot. See if you can press down a little stronger through inner heels, almost like they're tent stakes attached to your inner heels, and you're plugging down into the ground with them. Press the back of your head into the ground a little bit so you have a nice little curve in your neck. And breathe here. And if you're feeling this in your thighs, in your quads, you're doing it right. All right, let's take a break. Come on down. We're going to do one leg at a time now. So from here, you're going to have to use one leg more strongly. You're going to feel this a lot more in the quads. So same thing, maybe just check and see that those heels are below the knees. You should be able to touch your heels at least one finger, one side at a time. And then get those shoulders underneath you. Press down into your inner heels. Now just a tiny bit, walk your left foot in about an inch or two to the midline. Press into that left foot and then take your right leg up toward the sky. Keep pressing down through the back of your head as well. So you should be feeling a lot happening in that left quadriceps area. All right, bring that right foot back down and lower down. We're going to try for the other side. So again, make sure those ankles are below the knees. Press down into the ground, get your shoulders underneath you, and then walk that right foot in maybe an inch or two toward the midline, and then press into that right leg and lift your left leg up. 5 breaths. And bring that left foot back down and lower down. Walk your feet out to the sides of your mat and drop your knees in toward each other. That gives you a nice natural curve in the low back. Gives you a chance to relax and rest. Take some big, deep breaths. All right, this next variation I often do as a restorative posture at the end of class. This is really nice to help get the upper back to loosen up for a bigger back bend. So take a moment and roll over. And you want to be able to grab your mat above your head. So make sure that you're about mid-mat here with your hips. You're going to take one block under your upper back so that bottom of the block lines up roughly with the bottom of your shoulder blades. And then you're going to take another block under your head. And then you're going to grab the mat above your head. So if there's a whole lot of mat there, you can roll it up, grab it, and you're going to push the mat away toward the wall above your head. Or if you want, you can grab the sides of your mat and push the mat that way over your head. So whichever part of the mat you've got, grab it, push it away from you, and you'll feel your arm bones come into your shoulder sockets when you do that, and that's what we're going for, is creating a little bit more stability in the shoulder sockets so you can open up the shoulders more. So push the mat away from you and take some deep breaths. And then release. You got a couple options here. So if you don't have a wall nearby, then you can do this a slightly different way. If you do have a wall nearby, you can put your blocks up against the wall. Usually there's some trim there, and you can kind of just hook the top of the block at the top of the trim. What this does is this creates a situation where your back bend doesn't have to be like this, because a lot of us lack the shoulder flexibility to have our arms way back here. Some of us have to do our back bends with our arms a little bit more in front of our ears. And so this angle here, in a little 45-degree angle leaning up against the wall, gives you help with that shoulder so you don't have to move as much. If you don't have a wall nearby, just put your blocks on the ground here, and then you can use it that way. So from here, I'll put my head down between the blocks, And then I'll put my hands on the blocks. If you're flexible enough in the shoulders, you don't need blocks. So you'll take your hands to your blocks, and then you're going to press down. Make sure your ankles are below your knees. Press down, so I'm starting to lift my hips up, feeling those quads. And then see if you can press down into the block so you get the top of my head to the ground. And then see if you can pull my elbows in and push up. Nice big breaths. If you don't need the blocks, the hands can come to the ground. But again, notice that's a really big opening in the shoulders, which is why a lot of people can't do this. There's a lot of tightness in most of our shoulders. So working on that shoulder opening is key. And that does take time. Shoulders were definitely my tight spot when I first started doing yoga, and I think it took me about 3 years to get to a place where I could open my shoulders correctly. So go ahead and come on down. Walk your feet out to the sides of your mat, and then drop your knees over to the left side like windshield wipers. And just let them hang there. And then you may want to get a little bit more stretch through the hip and thigh. So you can take that left ankle and place it on top of your right thigh near the knee. And then either just let gravity do the work, or you can gently apply some pressure with your left foot. You'll get a nice big stretch through your psoas, sartorial muscle. Maybe look over your right shoulder. All right, remove that left foot, bring it to the outside edge of your mat again, and then drop your knees over to the right side like windshield wipers. You can keep them there, or you can take your right foot and place it on the outside of your left thigh near the knee, and then maybe apply some pressure or just let it hang out there. Then maybe look over your left shoulder. All right, remove that right foot and bring it back down. Let's try one more back bend. So you can go for a more simple back bend, or you can try for that wheel again, or you can flip over onto your belly and grab your feet. So you have some options. So again, grab the mat, make sure your ankles are in touching distance, lift your hips up, get into a bridge first, press the back of your head into the ground. You can use your blocks if you'd like, if you're a little tight through the shoulders. Place those hands on the blocks or the ground, come to the top of your head, pull your elbows in, and then come on up. Nice big breaths. Squeeze those legs into the midline. So I'll show a couple different variations here. There's that bridge posture, where you're still working these quads, and you can even press into the ground and just get those elbows pointing up. Or if you're just dying for a bigger back bend, but you're not ready to press up from the ground, you can flip over and grab the tops of your feet and go for a bow. It's a slightly different variation for the shoulders. You're not getting the same shoulder opening, but it is a nice back bend. All right, so if you're on your back, walk your feet out to the sides of your mat again and drop your knees over to one side and then over the other side. And then if you're on your front, go ahead and do a little child's pose. And then let's do like a little bit of a twist here. Bring your right knee into your chest, lie on your back, give yourself a little squeeze. Take the right arm out to the side, look over the right shoulder, and bring the right knee across the body to the left. And decompress. Stick your tailbone out a little bit. And then let's go for the other side. Hug your left knee into your chest, give yourself a little squeeze. Take your left arm out to the side, look over the left shoulder, and bring your left leg across the body to the right. A little twist, stick out your tailbone. And then you may want to place your hips on a block. So you can go low on the block and go legs up against the wall. You can even use a wall to lean your legs up against. Or you can come up one more level. I like to go to the medium level here. Move that block close to your tailbone and let your hips rest on the block. Or you can do regular Shavasana. Let your legs flop out to the sides. Take the arms out to the sides. Get the shoulders underneath you. Take some deep breaths. Check in, see how your body feels. Roll your eyes in toward the midline where the eyes and nose meet. And we've only been here for a couple of minutes, so I invite you to stay for another 5 or 10 minutes and really get a full relaxation after your practice. So you can mentally follow me as you lie there. And if you do need to go, you can go ahead and gently roll up. Otherwise, mentally or physically put your hands into your heart center. Take a moment to thank yourself for practicing. Bring your hands up to your forehead for kind thoughts, down to your lips for kind words, and down to your heart center for kind intentions. Sending a little bit of peace out there into the world. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.